All right, so you've gotten the hang of it, you've mastered that first spool of PLA that came with your machine, and now you're probably starting to wonder, what's next? Your printer is capable of so much more. Today, we're going to dive into the world of advanced filaments to really level up your projects. We're talking going from simple trinkets to real-world functional parts. So yeah, let's explore the materials that make it all happen. And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? As Zach Friedman says, the world of 3D printing filament is, well, it's vast. There are literally hundreds of options out there, each with its own unique personality. Some are incredibly strong, others are super flexible, and some are just plain weird. It can definitely feel a bit overwhelming trying to figure out where to even start. And that really is the million-dollar question. The truth is, there's no single best filament. It just doesn't exist. There's only the right filament for the job you need to do. And in this explainer, we're going to give you the tools to make that choice with confidence, every single time. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the king everyone knows, PLA. Then we'll move into the common upgrades people usually try next. After that, we'll get into the serious pro-level engineering materials, explore some really unique specialists, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with a simple guide to help you choose your champion. Every journey has to start somewhere, right? And for pretty much everyone in 3D printing, that start is with PLA, or polylactic acid. It's the default for a very good reason. So let's use it to set our baseline. Look, PLA is fantastic for getting what's on your screen into the real world fast. It's incredibly easy to print, it's dirt cheap, and it's surprisingly rigid. But here's the catch. It just can't really handle the real world. It'll get soft and deform in a hot car, UV light from the sun makes it brittle over time, and if you drop it, yeah, it's probably gonna shatter. Plus, it has this weird property called creep. That means if you put it under a constant load, like a bracket you've screwed in tight, it will literally, slowly deform over time. So you need something tougher than your standard PLA. Well, you're most likely going to turn to one of these two common upgrades. Let's see how they build on what we know about PLA. First up, you've got what's often called tough PLA or PLA+. Now, what's really cool here is that you can see manufacturers are basically adding other plastics into a standard PLA base to cover up its weaknesses. These new blends give you much better impact resistance, so they'll bend instead of shattering, and they can handle slightly higher temperatures. For a lot of functional parts, it's a straight-up upgrade without having to change your printing workflow all that much. The other common step up is PETG. You can think of it as PLA's tougher, more durable cousin. It's got way better resistance to heat and sunlight, and it has more give, which makes it a lot less brittle. So what's the trade-off? Well, it can be a little bit more of a pain to print. It's famous for being stringy, and sometimes it sticks a little too well to your build plate. You might even damage your surface trying to get it off. And this quote, this just perfectly sums up the common experience. On paper, PEGT looks amazing, but in practice, a lot of people find it super frustrating. Because it's a bit thicker and loves to absorb moisture, it tends to stick to the nozzle, leaving these ugly blobs and strings all over your print. It definitely has its place, but honestly, a lot of its popularity is a holdover from before modern enclosed printers made better materials much easier to print. Okay, now we're getting into the serious stuff. These are the materials you use when you need parts that can survive in some really demanding environments. But just a heads up, they demand a bit more from your printer too. ABS is the original tough guy. It's the plastic that things like Lego bricks and car dashboards are made of. It's incredibly durable and super heat resistant. But it comes with two big problems. First, it shrinks a lot as it cools. That causes your prints to warp like crazy and pull right off the print bed. Second, it releases some pretty nasty fumes. That's why an enclosure for your printer isn't just nice to have, it's an absolute must to keep the heat in and the fumes contained. This brings us to ABS's modern successor, ASA. And you can see from this table, ASA takes everything good about ABS and then just makes it better. The biggest difference, the real game changer, is its excellent UV resistance. That means it can sit out in direct sunlight pretty much forever without getting brittle. It also warps less than ABS, making it a bit easier to print with. So the takeaway here is simple. If you're printing a functional part that's going to live outdoors, like a piece for your car or a garden tool, ASA is the hands-down winner. No contest. All right, so sometimes you don't want a part to be stiff. Sometimes you need it to be bend or stretch or survive some really extreme conditions. And that's where these specialized materials really shine. Before we can talk about flexible filaments, we gotta quickly understand this term, shore hardness. It's just a scale that measures how soft or hard a material is.
When you see a number followed by an A, like 95A, that's what it's telling you. A lower number means it's softer, more like a wet noodle. A higher number is stiffer, more like the tire on a car. Simple as that.
So the undisputed king of flexibles is TPU. This stuff is just incredible. The layers stick together so well that it's basically immune to shattering. The harder versions, around 95A, are perfect for parts that need to absorb impact. Think phone cases, drone bumpers, or even armor for combat robots. They're pretty much indestructible. The only real catch, you have to print it nice and slow, otherwise the flexible filament can get jammed up in your extruder. Now let's talk about composites, and let's bust a huge myth right now. A lot of people think adding chopped up carbon fibers to plastic makes it stronger, and that's not really true. What it actually does is make the part significantly stiffer or more rigid. It also helps stabilize the plastic as it cools, which means less warping, and it gives your parts this absolutely beautiful matte finish. But it can actually make the material a bit more brittle. And this right here, this is where composites truly shine. This chart shows the heat deflection temperature. That's the point where a material starts to get soft when you put it under stress. I mean, just look at that jump from PLA and PETG all the way up to a carbon fiber reinforced nylon. It's not just a small improvement, it's a completely different league. This lets you print parts that can actually work in high temperature spots, like inside a car's engine bay. Now, this is a critical pro tip for working with these advanced materials. A lot of them, especially nylons and TPUs, are hygroscopic. That's just a fancy word that means they love to suck moisture right out of the air. And let me tell you, wet filament is the #1 enemy of a good print. It causes stringing, weak parts, and total failures. So managing moisture isn't optional, it's essential. That means storing your filament in a dry box, actively drying it before you print, and for the really sensitive stuff, printing directly from that dry box. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground, so let's bring this all home and put together a simple little guide to help you pick the perfect material for whatever you're dreaming up next. So here it is, your cheat sheet. If you're making visual prototypes or models, where looks are the most important thing, stick with good old PLA. It's easy and it looks great. If you're stepping up to functional parts that are going to live indoors, a tough PLA or PEGT will give you that extra durability you need. But the second that part needs to go outside, you have to switch to ASA to survive the sun. For anything that needs to bend, twist, or take a huge hit, TPU is your indestructible hero. And finally, for those really extreme engineering jobs that need metal-like stiffness and heat resistance, a carbon fiber composite is the only way to fly. Ultimately, it all boils down to this one simple idea. Stop asking, what's the best filament, and start asking, what does my part need to do? Does it need to be stiff? Does it need to survive a hot car? Does it need to bend? Once you know what your project requires, the choice of material becomes crystal clear. You're just picking the right tool for the job. So, there you have it. You've officially moved beyond the basics. You have a whole new toolbox of materials at your fingertips, and each one has its own unique superpower. The only question left is, what amazing things are you going to bring to life?